Victory, Scientific Sincere Apologies. He's in Chicago with Brian Hooker, doing very important work there. So you have to hand in myself today. So I get to do Dell's job, which I've been looking forward to doing for so long. And that is, so, my family, my fellow vaccine injured family, are you out there? Is anyone here? Stand up, let's see you. Okay, so this is what we've been waiting for so long. For 19 years, I've been telling Billy's story. Many of you have been doing this for way longer. Some of you are just starting out on the journey. But this is everything we've been fighting for. For 19 years, I've been telling Billy's story, and it's really difficult to get heard. Tried to start a magazine. I'm trying to get into every media, every single way I knew how. Even posting a bra on a billboard in London just to try and get someone to talk about the subject. But this is just for us a tiny, weeny smidgen of justice that our voice at long last can be heard. We've been speaking to media that haven't wanted to speak to us forever on the subject. I'm absolutely sure this is divine intervention, guys, because it is moving so fast, and every day our plans change, and it's all good. Every review that we think is awful is just another way of advertising Vaxxed. The baddies say how bad the film is, and then they put our trailer up. So we're positive about this. We're excited about it, and we've got all sorts of things happening underground. It's all good. So I'm not going to go on and on and on and on. I just want you to know, vaccine to parents. My husband's sitting down here. This is Texas. We live here now. We're not ever going to leave Texas. Woo! And we are committed 100% for building futures for our children. Beautiful, beautiful futures. We're going to put Texas on the map for being the best place to be if you've got an adult with an autistic child. And Andy, social media channel, we're going to film it. So please know that.
Right, yeah, you are. We just got back from California. You are living in the safest state in the nation, so you make sure you keep it that way, okay?
We are working hard.
Good. Yeah, no, this is an extraordinary time in American history. I've said sometimes, in lectures that I've given, that this may be remembered by historians as the beginning of the end of the First Republic of the United States of America, when the government that is sworn to protect the people and serve the people actually serves the corporate interests over and above the people. And that is the end of democracy. That is the end of the country. Now that must change, and there is an opportunity to do that within this election cycle. We have to make the right decisions. But I didn't come to Texas to lose freedom. I came to Texas to find freedom, to finish this job. And I hope that this film at least gets us part of the way there. So we're going to throw this open to questions. What I'd like people to do is, rather than give us a long commentary, please. Many people want to ask questions, one question each. Keep it short, and then we can get through as many as possible, because then they need to move the next audience into this theatre. So, with that said, if there are no questions, yes, gentlemen there.
Is there going to be a sequel to the movie? Because I know that there are studies out there that show that even with other vaccines introduced, other diseases rise along with the introduction of the other vaccines. So is there going to be a sequel that shows the damaging effect of other vaccinations as well?
Yes, and it's already got a name. It's called Vaxxed the Booster. The answer is I don't know. The answer is there probably will be. If we get this right, if we make it safe for William Thompson to come out and be heard, and not to be prosecuted and not to be put away in Guantanamo Bay, then other whistleblowers will come out of the CDC and out of the agencies. In fact, Merck are currently in federal court in Pennsylvania being sued for defrauding the government under the Whistleblower Act by 2 employees of the MMR vaccine lab, where they faked data on the efficacy of their mumps vaccine in order to protect their license for MMR. There's another whistleblower that's come out in Utah who worked with the CDC, where she claims they have been faking the numbers on children with autism in this country. So if we can make it safe for whistleblowers to do that, we will see more people coming out. We will see an expose of the thimerosal debacle in the Stratton study. And we'll see, I believe, associations with many of the immune-mediated conditions that are rising exponentially in this country coming forward as well. So that is my hope. We must succeed with this film. If we fail, then we fail for a very long time.
Can I just add to that? I mean, Andrew, that's you right. But one thing I do know that Autism Media Channel is going to do is look after the ones that are already damaged. We will be looking after that. The number one priority after we've done this, because that is as important as sorting out what causes autism, all the vaccines that are damaging the kids, is we've got to look after the kids that are already damaged.
Next question. Yes, this lady here, and then I heard someone up there.
As far as contacting Congress and stuff, are there any people in particular that are in control positions that would be better to contact? Not just our own congressmen or senators?
There are two ways of doing this. So we're trying to get this in front of Chairman Chafitz's committee, the Oversight Committee on Government Reform, which is, he assumed the leadership, which was originally held, of course, in the vaccine hearings by Dan Burton, who you saw in this. There are two ways of getting to him. You contact the committee directly, or you give him support through your own congressman. You're much more likely to be able to contact and prevail upon your own congressman because he is there to represent you in the district. So that is, I would approach it from those two directions. The most important thing you can do, though, is to fill these theatres, to get people to come, to bring two friends, to go away, to come back tomorrow, come back next week, bring people to these theatres. Why? Because that opens another 5 theatres every day across America. And the way in which we get news, the way in which Thompson's story is broken into the mainstream news is through the theatrical releases of this film. If it was open, if it was put out there just online or pay-per-view, then we wouldn't have the media coverage. So we've now had five interviews on Fox television, which is astonishing. We tried for so long to get this into the mainstream, and now, largely because of Tribeca and Robert De Niro, we broke through, and they're talking about William Thompson. So fill the theatres, get people to come back, and we will open theatres everywhere around the world.
And please, parents, I know you're exhausted, but please keep telling your stories in any way you can. Any contacts you have, any friends that you have in the media, 3 wonderful mothers. I don't know if you saw it, did a segment yesterday on CBS. That is exactly what we want. They must know that we are all out there, because at the moment they're trying to say it's about bad Andy Wakefield and brainwashed Tommey and her child. So can we please put that right? By you telling your stories, you do put that right. So, and thank you to those amazing women. I think they may even be here that did that fantastic interview last night.
Gentleman here.
We've only just, this has happened so fast that we can't catch up, but actually it's strange you to say that we have been talking about it. I don't know.
There has been a proposal for a book. There's very little time at the moment. We are moving from town to town. Literally tomorrow we go to Sacramento, then we go to Denver, then Atlanta, then Philadelphia, then somewhere else beginning with S. And there's very little time to actually sit down and write that, but it would be very helpful. You're quite right. Please go to vaxxedthemovie.com and you will see where it's opening. You'll see which stories are breaking, which news outlets are covering it, and ultimately, if there is a book, what will happen.
And if you sign up to the newsletter, then you will know what's happening as quickly as we know what's happening.
Lady over here. Yes, they are. They're available in 2 ways. What was presented to them was an official complaint to the Office of Research Integrity, which has oversight over the CDC. That document, or those documents, are available either at vaxxedthemovie.com or at autismmediachannel.com as a downloadable PDF. All of the documents that were given to Bill Posey are available from his staff as a Dropbox file that will be sent to anyone who wants it. So get in touch with Congressman Posey's office. Those documents will also be posted on our website very soon. So if you have a mind to, can go through all the same numbers that we had, all the same documents, all the same internal emails and analysis plans, and you can confirm what we've already told One up there, this lady up there, and then this lady in the green shirt.
I haven't done enough research to kind of form my own opinion, but let's say 99% of politics aside, which person running for president right now do you think would best support this mission? Without, I mean, if there were no other issues on the table.
What president would best support the mission?
Dale's not here. Dale's not
Leading
here.
the
I know
witness,
you
yeah.
said.
Dale isn't here, so I
He
can
tells
answer
us
this
all.
one.
I mean, let's say we hate all of the options that we're choosing just for this.
Okay, yeah, let me throw this open. If you
Donald, are you listening?
If you look at the, stand up to do this, just, I'm going to keep moving. If you look at the amount of money that the respective candidates took from the pharmaceutical industry at the beginning of the campaign when everybody was still in the race, who was way, way, way out there as bought and sold from the very beginning? Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders had taken about the same amount, around $1,000, I think. So you've taken $333,000 at that time. So, who is the only candidate? Let's say it comes down to Trump versus Clinton. Who is the only candidate who acknowledges that vaccines cause autism and that this should be investigated?
Trump.
If this is your issue, and it is my issue, then there's your answer. If, you see, here's the issue, here's the problem. If the rates of autism continue as they are, then in advance of 2032, there will be no foreign policy. There will be no standing army. There will be no police force. You either have autism or you look after someone with autism. That's it. That's as bad as this gets, and that is the way this is going. So that's the decision we have to make. I put this as the priority. The damage to the future of this country is the destruction of the brains of its children, and autism is the tip of the iceberg. What happens if you just shave 9 points off a child's IQ? How long will that take to detect? And if you look at the SAT scores, they have had to recenter them twice in the last decade to get the same pass rate. If you look at the valedictorians in college, they're all girls. When my son graduated, there was only one boy standing on the stage. So this is not a systematic problem with the education in this country. It is a biological effect. The same thing was seen with lead poisoning. There are sex-specific differences at different doses. And boys are suffering, girls are not failing. So what that means for the future of this country is that we are effectively dumbing it down. It's not just autism, it's a whole host of problems that lie below the waterline that are as yet more difficult to pin down. It took a very, very long time to establish that lead in paint and petroleum caused brain injury, because that's what it did. It took a few points off the average IQ of every child exposed. So bear that in mind. We are not just talking about autism. Next question.
That lady with the white top.
Yes, lady with the white top.
Up here. Could you comment on what we've been hearing through the grapevine that William Thompson has made a deal with the CDC?
William Thompson has.
Has William Thompson made a deal with the CDC?
Right, this is a rumor, and it's a rumor that we have heard. We do not know whether it is true. It has been suggested that William Thompson is going to present a reanalysis of these data that were first available to them in 2001 in an attempt, perhaps, to exonerate the MMR vaccine. There are two elements to this. On the fraud, that is unambiguous. They are bound to rights. They committed fraud. No data raking exercise at this stage is ever going to exonerate them of that. In fact, it makes it far, far worse. If they do that, then this film has had the right impact. They are on the run. So we welcome that, because it will convince every American, every right-thinking American, that we were right, and they are completely unable and capable of conducting vaccine safety science with any integrity whatsoever. In science, this is called data raking, where you go back over old data in an effort to find an effect or to extinguish an effect that you don't want to see. So when that happens, if that happens, and as yet we don't know whether it will, it would be a huge public relations error on the part of the CDC. Lady here?
Yes. I understand that we have a massive rise in cases of autism, but we're also, as a country, seeing a huge rise in autoimmune illnesses in our children. My oldest daughter has celiac. I can't count how many children I know, juvenile diabetes, the type 1 diabetes, Crohn's, celiac, rheumatoid arthritis, all of these issues that I didn't see when I was a kid. And it wasn't for lack of good testing, because we would notice the child with Crohn's. We would notice the child with celiac. So what is, I know what I'm trying to ask. How do you?
Start asking what I think you're trying to say.
Yes.
And this comes to that same tip of the iceberg phenomenon. Should I take this one?
No, go ahead.
That historically, the things that conditioned our immune system before vaccination was infection. Okay, so we were exposed to infections and our immune system was educated, appropriately or not. And some people developed immune-mediated diseases in middle age and some didn't. The great majority didn't. Then we saw an explosion of these diseases. What has replaced infection as the prime educator of the infant immune system now is vaccination. So when you're looking for a causal agent or agents in triggering these epidemics of immune-mediated diseases, then you have to look what has become a proxy for infection. That's vaccination. That's the first place to start. It's Occam's razor, the simplest explanation. And I sincerely believe that one of the main problems that we have now is misprogramming of the infant immune system by saturation with not only antigens such as measles, mumps, and rubella, but all of the extraneous things that are put in there, or preservatives or excipients, that have a profound effect on the immune system and actually skew the immune system towards an aberrant immune response, an autoimmune type immune response. So, yes, and I don't think that we would know the answer to that because the science has been done largely by the CDC and has clearly, in my opinion, been corrupted.
And I would just said quality out is the vaccine.
That gentleman there.
The idea of the movie that you don't necessarily believe that every single vaccine is bad, and yet, or maybe you do, I don't know. The anti-vaccine movement, if you go to those websites, it's like no vaccine's ever been effective, they're all bad. Is this your position? Is the goal of the anti-vaccine movement to have a vaccine-free world?
Is the goal of vaccine-free world?
Did everyone hear the question? Is there a safe vaccine? Am I against all vaccines? Do I think there are vaccines that are good? You know, I started on this. I had 4 children, 2 were vaccinated, 2 weren't. We didn't have the data at the very beginning. My concern initially was the MMR. Why? Because parents came to me and said, this is what happened to my child. They didn't have any problem with MMR at the time. As I got into it, and I came to America to testify before Congress, I heard about mercury in vaccines as a preservative. I thought no one would ever put the second most toxic substance on the planet into a child's body, and yet, yes, they did, in huge overdose. And then I learned there was aluminum in vaccines, which should be bound to silica in the Earth's crust and never exposed to human beings, put in there as an adjuvant to pervert and to boost the immune system. And then I learned that the rotavirus vaccine had pig circovirus DNA in it, and it was still on the market. And then I learned that there were all kinds of extraneous viruses that they never knew were in there. So, as I say in this movie, the notion of protecting children against serious, life-threatening infectious disease with vaccines that are safe and effective is laudable, and yet I have not found one vaccine on the market that meets those criteria. So I hope that answers your question.
And the parents in here with vaccinated children, and the parents, and many parents on the many different periscopes going on around here will tell you that collectively, between the MMR and all the other vaccines we've injured our children, there is no safe vaccine.
Sorry, what's the follow-up?
As a parent, absolutely no vaccine. They're not safe. Until someone can show us they're safe, and actually none of us parents will ever believe that they're safe anyway, then no. But I'm just a parent.
this in the end has to be a matter of personal choice. This is the key. In this country, you should be free to choose based upon informed consent, truly, fully informed consent, what you put into your child's body. So while it's not my place to tell people how they should or should not protect their children, but it is my place to say, please get educated. The information is out there. Watch this film, get your friends to watch this film, go to the CDC's website, go to the NVIC, the National Vaccine Information Centre's website, read everything you can before making this fundamental decision. Get informed, and at the end of the day, it must be your choice. You cannot force medical procedures on anyone. History has taught us that. No question.
Can you tell us about the Autism Trust in Austin?
Yes, I can. I mean, I don't want to hold everybody up here because this is about the film, but yes, maybe if anybody wants to know about it, they can. Is it a Periscope question? Okay, well, maybe John and I can talk about that on Periscope afterwards.
Right. Sorry, I was pointing to someone. That lady there, that's right. And then there was someone further up, and then we come down here. Yes.
Those of us who've always been denied compensation, that's a huge issue. And I guess I was also wondering why there weren't things like, banning hepatitis B on the first day of birth, that kind of a practice. And I was just wondering why it wasn't a little bit more expansive.
I mean, I think this film was about 5 hours long, then 3 hours long, and we had to get it down to 90 minutes. And that's the problem,
Being
all of
denied
this.
compensation,
Why did he have a
hepatitis B
freak-out
on
attack?
the first
What
day.
made that happen? He had a gluten pizza that day, some well-meaning person took him out. We could have gone into that, we could have gone into the gut issues, but every time it was very hard for Andy to cut any of it out. I mean, there should have been a documentary in the making of the documentary. There's 3 strong characters here. So it is what it is because we had to concentrate on Baxter in the film, but maybe that's Baxter too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the point is that we made it about MMR because that's the information that Thompson gave us. We wanted to avoid at all costs speculation. We wanted this film to hit the mainstream, and therefore it had to be based wholly on fact. It couldn't be just us expressing our opinion. And so we didn't have anything on hepatitis B on the first day of life. He didn't give us that because he wasn't involved in those films. So I'm completely sympathetic to the notion that that should never be given children hepatitis B vaccine on the first day of life. That may well flow from this because, as I say, I think what may come from this is we will then get more people coming forward from the CDC when they feel comfortable that they are protected as whistleblowers and saying exactly the same thing. And I think the other thing is that there's only so much at the end of a movie people can actually take on board and go away with. And if you saturate them, people will tend to get, and it's no criticism of the audience whatsoever, it's just there are a certain number of things that you can take away and say, right, what can I do? And these were the things that we reduced it to.
But also, just to say, we are editing as quickly as we can the bits that were missed out of the film, and they will be coming to you as soon as we get a break to edit those, because there's some really important extra footage that should have gone in there, but because of time.
Gentleman there.
So one of the things you want to take away, obviously, when you said, tell everyone, moms, tell your stories if you have vaccinated your children. So do you have since everything's so big on social media, did you start a site where those mothers and people that want to be a voice can go to?
Yeah, do you in the film you saw here as well?
Yeah, a social media site.
Clips of parents. I think there's only 450 videos on there. I mean, there's way more than 450 people. If everybody can do a glimpse of what autism is like, what happened to them, and send it into there, that will get bigger. Or send it to us. Here as well. Org. I don't know. My brain's not working very well.
Hashtag here as well.
Hashtag here as well. And also, otherwise send them to our daughter Bella Tommey because she's got nothing to do. Spend some things and she can edit them for you. BellaTommey@gmail.com.
Okay, hashtag hear this well and bellatommy@gmail.com. Now, there was someone, a lady there, that's right.
Last fall, in my microbiology class at Tarrant County Community College, my microbiology professor made sure he dedicated a good portion of one of his lectures to introduce you, Dr. Andrew Wakefield, and your study, and he wanted to try to convince us that your study was completely fraudulent. How do you respond as a student to that, to a professor who's teaching a whole class that?
Her TCC microbiology professor tried to
It's-
discredit
yeah, it's-
Andrew Wakefield.
Let me say there are three things really. One is, let me just say, I have never, in my entire medical career, ever been involved in committing scientific fraud. It is extremely easy to destroy. It's extremely easy to destroy the career of a scientist. You can do that in 5 minutes, and it takes a lifetime or more, or never, to redress that balance, particularly when the people pitched against you are Rupert Murdoch's media, News International, GlaxoSmithKline, Merck, and the governments of the world. One guy and a whole lot of money. That's very difficult. What you can do is say to yourself, this is far more important. This isn't about me. It may sound like it's personal, but it's not about me at all. It's about the future of this country. It's about the children of the world. If I'm feeling sorry for myself, I see the next child with autism and I think, I don't have a problem. This child has a problem, but I don't have a problem, so get over it. 20 years later, I'm as determined as ever never to quit this fight. And when Thompson comes forward and says that the hypothesis that we gave them in 2000 turns out to be true, whether it exonerates me or not, doesn't matter. What matters is that the truth comes forward. And if your teacher has got any substance whatsoever, they will see this movie and they will change their mind. So you tell them that. Lady next to you, and then this gentleman down here.
I don't know if you might be familiar with Robin Goff, who's she's involved in the Autism One movement, and she believes that autism is specifically rooted from parasites in vaccines. Are you familiar with this thought, and what are your thoughts on that?
Robin Goff.
I've heard the story about parasites.
Autism
and
is rooted in
I
parasites.
don't know. All I can say is when we scoped these children, we must have been involved in examining several thousand children, working initially in London and then with Dr. Arthur Kriegsman. We saw parasites in maybe 5 children, 10 children. That doesn't mean they're not associated with the problem. It's just that it was not obvious to us. And these things are easy to see. They're easy to detect during colonoscopy, for example. But that doesn't mean that in some children they're not relevant. We do not have the evidence at this stage to say that they are, and therefore that remains a hypothesis, an interesting hypothesis, but one that I can't give you any insights into at this stage. One more. We have one more question. And then, yes, I did say to this gentleman here that he could have the last question.
Okay, I was handed this pamphlet when I was coming into this movie. I didn't know what it was when I took it. And in here they have several different myths and facts presented, which seem to be in the exact opposite pole of what this movie is about. In here they state, and I'm reading from this pamphlet, many large studies around the world have found no link between MMR vaccine and autism. When they say many large studies, what are they referring? Because I've only heard one study that has actually said, and from this movie, where they tampered with those results, that there's been no link. So what are these other studies that they're referring to?
Did people hear that? Okay, let me just hold this up. This is a pamphlet this gentleman was handed coming into the movie. It has our logo on the front of Vaxxed, and it turns out, in fact, to be from the other side, saying that there have been many large studies that say that there is no link between MMR and autism. This is one of the most important studies they hold up. You've got to bear in mind, and the studies that have been done have been conducted by the CDC or have been funded by the CDC. And as the doctor said in this, if they're lying to me about this study, what else are they lying to me about? As Thompson said himself, when they find an effect, they go into a room and they massage those data until they can make the effect go away. One of the most egregious examples of this was the Vaxxed study on thimerosal, where they had a risk of 600% increased risk of autism that they managed to massage down to zero. The difference for that study is they didn't have a whistleblower. However, I value this. The reason I came to this country is that popular protest, difference of opinions, should be encouraged and entertained. So thank you to whoever put this there, because at least they're now engaged in the debate. Thank you very much indeed.
I just got it from the gentleman outside. Oh, you can keep it if you like it. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say, just very, very quickly, I just want to give some Tommey advice, not Vaxxed advice, not Dr. Wakefield advice, not whatever, anybody else's advice. But I see there are pregnant women here watching this, and thank you for coming, because I wish I had watched this when I was pregnant with Billy. My advice is please stay away from paediatricians for as long as you can. They are there just to weigh your baby, measure your baby, and vaccinate your baby. You can weigh them and measure them at home, and you don't need the vaccine. If you go and you do this, you have a very high chance at 18 months of being told that your child has autism. So please, that's my advice to you. Stay away, you don't need them.
I'm told that there are some Vaxxed t-shirts available outside for $20, but that may just be a rumor. So.
Thank you.